My name's Eric. I joined the UAP simple reason. We need change. We actually need to get the Australia back on track. And I was hoping Victoria was going to be a good selection, but didn't turn out the way we wanted to. But I don't think that was all the cards being played. But I certainly want to keep pushing it, and I certainly will keep helping you guys out, because what we do need is guys like Ralph here, his brother Matt, and Craig Kelly, and people like this here that actually want to help Victoria, help Australia, get us all back on track. So hopefully we get there.
So I joined the UAP because I'm sick of Daniel Andrews dictating to us what we can and can't do. And I think we need a change and be able to be free to do what we want and make our own choices for ourselves, not being told what we can and can't do.
So what you're saying is that you're sick of government overreach? I
am sick of government overreach. I think you should be able to live your life how you want to, and the government should just be there to guide, not be able to tell you this is what you have to do.
I'm Jeff Thomas, and I'm part of the freedom fighting team. The boys?
The boys?
Yes. The Babbitts.
So tell me, what drove you to join the UAP?
Tyranny versus freedom.
And we need to target a lot of the decent, normal ex-liberals who were not giving the platform and who were abandoned by their party for speaking truth and speaking for family and Australian values.
So are you telling me that the Liberal Party no longer stands by their traditional values?
Well, I'm telling you that there's virtually no more Liberal Party.
So I don't think the Liberals stand for anything, and they haven't got the conservative values. It's almost like they're trying to please Labor voters, but yet if someone's a Labor voter, they're going to vote Labor and not a Conservative party. So why would you vote Liberals?
That's a good point. In fact, most people that I speak to say that the Liberal Party is kind of like Labor light, if anything. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
We followed the UAP because we were looking for a better alternative in this country. Sadly, politics has strayed a long way from the straight and narrow.
Hasn't it ever?
And oh yeah. And we're looking for an alternative. We've met some fine people, fine representatives who are decent, honest politicians. People that we're willing to put our time and effort behind.
When you say an alternative, do you mean an alternative to the major parties?
And an alternative to major parties. It's unfortunate. I'm 65. I've seen a lot of politicians come and go, but it's always been that Liberal or Labor, and unfortunately both parties these days are letting us down, and we need a legitimate alternative to those major parties that are finding their way, unlike those two major parties who've lost their way.
I am so disappointed with the two major parties. They are just not supporting freedom and people's beliefs. They are there for themselves, and I'm fed up. I've changed to UAP.
Why did I join the UAP? I came to Australia from America almost 20 years ago. Australia was a nice, free country, and I've seen those freedoms eroded, things changed. This isn't what I remember the country to be when I came here 20 years ago. And also, I have no more work because of the vaccine mandates. So in a nutshell, I joined the UAP because it's all about freedom of choice for me. And people should have the right to do what they want to do, and that's one of the things that the party supports.
I joined the UAP because basically the whole freedom thing, I just think it was unfair what's happened to us the last couple of years, that you know, we were treated very poorly without any justification, and I just felt it was the need for a change from, you know, Labor and Liberal, and to get away from that. And there is a bit of a vacuum in this country at the moment and in this state of you know, conservative type values that we need to step into and take control of. So I think it's important that we all join and be a part of this movement, because it is important for our country, because our country is not headed in a great direction at the moment.
So I joined the UAP during the lockdowns, and I saw that they were one of the only parties that really wanted to protect our rights. They're a family-orientated party, and also a party that protects religious beliefs, and all that really resonated with me. And so when I was out there protesting, I continuously saw the yellow out there, continuously saw them side by side, and then I heard you speaking as well for the Senate, and it just really inspired me to want to get involved instead of just sitting on the sidelines and complaining about everything.
Thank you everybody for coming. It's really nice to see all your beautiful faces. What a year. What a big year we've had. I don't think me and Ralph have worked this hard in our whole lives as we have over the last 12 months. What do you think, Ralph?
Yep.
As Charles Dickens might have said, we've had the best of times and we've had the worst of times. On the bright side, I'm very happy to see that Victoria Police is now arresting people for going into a bank with a mask, as opposed to what they were doing a few years ago when you go into a bank without a mask. Mind you, these days, it's the banks themselves that are committing daylight robbery, with interest rates up at around 7% and no sign of stopping. There's going to be tough times ahead, so let's see how that goes. But seriously, it was amazing that we're able to endorse such a great team of candidates over the last 2 years. Just doing that required an enormous amount of effort from each and every one of you. And against the odds, we've had some hard-won victories. Although the result wasn't what we wanted in the state election, we have to remember just as early as May, we had Senator Ralph Babet, my brother, elected in the federal parliament, and he's working hard in there, representing us. Well done, Ralph. I want to say thank you for everybody here who's worked so hard over the last 12 months. We've suffered some bitter disappointments, but despite all our efforts, brilliant people weren't elected in the state election. The reality is that the odds are stacked against us. Mainstream media is only interested in parroting the narrative of the powerful elite and the global elite. We know we are outsiders in this battle. It's literally David versus Goliath, and it's easy sometimes to feel like it's just too hard and we should just give up, but we can't give up. We have to keep fighting, because at what is stake is far too important. Thanks to all of you, the battle is far from over. It's a battle we can win, we will win, because we must win. Can I just get all the candidates to come up here? We've got some wonderful candidates in the house. Can you please come on stage? Who else is here? Scott, where are you? Scott, Julie, you can't escape. All right, so we give a wonderful round of applause to these wonderful candidates. We just want to say a few minutes.
Yeah, thanks to everybody for coming tonight today and for supporting us, not just throughout the state campaign, but through the federal campaign as well. The battle is not over. We still have a long way to go, but we have made some positive steps in the right direction. And there is room for us in the political spectrum. Liberals have gone too far to the left, in my opinion, and I think in the opinion of a lot of us, and that gives us some room for us to gain some ground from them if we're smart about it, if we work hard, as we have been. So thanks to everyone for what you've done for us, and keep believing and keep supporting us, and we'll achieve some great things in the future, I'm sure.
I just want to echo everything Scott just said, and what an amazing group of people. Thank you, all of you, for all the hard work that you put in over this past year, really, if you're involved with the federal campaign and now the state. On a personal note, I've met some wonderful people. I've been honoured to make new friends and to share the lives of so many different people. So that's, if I've got nothing out of this all, which I have got more out of it, but it's been to meet all of you, and thank you again for all your hard work. And no, the fight's not over. I'm going to stick in it, I'm going to stay with it, I'm going to be with the UAP, and we will succeed in the next election. Thank you.
Again, just echoing the words of the guys, just a big thank you to all of our members and all of our supporters. As a candidate, I was lucky to run the federal election, and again at the state as well. It's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done, and that's because I met all of you. You're the reason we do what we do, to be the voice, to stand up for what's going on in Victoria and around the world. The fight continues, we will keep going. We've got some exciting things planned for the party moving forward, which I'm sure Deej will talk about. So stick with us, and the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Natalie. I'm very happy to be a first-time candidate for the Western region, and thank UAP for endorsing me as a candidate. It's been a really lovely experience, and we couldn't have done this without you guys. We were literally your face and your words, and without all of you members and the volunteers, we can't split ourselves into 1,000 pieces to be everywhere. So without you guys, we couldn't have even made a dent in what we've just done. I know we couldn't get the result that we did, but this is a long haul fight. This is not just a short-term thing, so please stick with us. We appreciate all your help and all your hard work, and it hasn't gone unnoticed, so thank you very much.
Craig Kelly was meant to be here, but being the old chap that he is, he's hurt his back, so he couldn't get down here, but he's made a video for us. I'm just going to play that.
Firstly, sorry I can't be there with you today to say Merry Christmas, but I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for everyone for the effort that you've put in this entire year, both at the federal election and the recent state election. Look, it's easy to be a bit disheartened about the results of the state election. You've got Dan the man back again, but just remember, it was absolutely important that we fought. And the Andrews government, actually their primary vote fell 5.8%. That was more than Morrison actually lost for the Liberals. So he chipped 5.8% off his vote. As I said, look, it was a disappointing result for us, but the mere fact that we fought, that we stood up, counts for so much. A lot of the totalitarian policies that would have otherwise been implemented against the people of both Australia and Victoria were dampened because we stood up and we fought when it was necessary. Now, we'd like at Christmas time always to look forward to the new year with great enthusiasm, but unfortunately, this new year that's coming up is looking bleak, and it's looking dark, I hate to say. The economy is heading for a major downfall. The money that was borrowed and wasted, the increasing interest rates of the Reserve Bank pushing them up again. One of the policies we were fighting against, the idea that you can stop inflation by punishing new people that have recently taken out mortgages and families is a misguided policy. You're not going to affect international energy prices by that, or the price of the petrol. The price of petrol at the Bowser is not going to fall by making a small number of households across the economy unable to pay their mortgage. Also, we've seen the recent summits over there in Egypt. The Albanese government signing us up basically to an international vaccine passport. We talked about climate lockdowns and we're called conspiracy theorists. Now we see in the UK, there's councils already putting these in place as trials for 2024. So it's just so important that we maintain the fight. Our fight was never about one election or state or federal election. Our fight is a long-term fight. We need to keep maintaining it. We need to keep speaking out, because on every single issue that we spoke about, the United Australia Party was right. You've only seen over the last 24, 48 hours with Musk taking over Twitter. The Twitter's admitted to interfering in foreign election campaigns. We had that here. We had Facebook interfering in the Australian election campaign, censoring United Australia Party candidates, and shadow banning their pages. We've got policies to ban that. We cannot have our democracy is under threat if we continue to allow these foreign multinational big tech organisations to censor freedom of speech. Again, the United Australia Party, we're the only ones in the country that have policies to deal with that. So we're going to maintain the fight. I've got some good news coming up in the new year. Dr. Peter McCullough is being sponsored by the United Australia Party. He's expected here in the second week of February, and we plan to bring Dr. McCullough to Melbourne as a guest speaker at one of our United Australia Party conferences. So, look, please enjoy Christmas. Let's be thankful for what we have, but understand that the fight will go on in the new year and for many years to come. Thanks very much. Enjoy a drink and hope to see you all down there in the new year with Dr. Peter McCullough. Thanks so much.
So as you can see, it's far from over. Craig Kelly is getting back and, taking the reins again, and he's going to be running in the state election in New South Wales. So he's going to do what he can to get elected. We need to be there and support him. Also, I just wanted to show you a bit of a snippet of what Senator Ralph Babbitt is doing in Parliament, because not a lot of people can actually see the work that he's doing in the Parliament, in the chamber. I'll just play a short video so we can see all the work he's done so far.
I stand here in this great place honoured and humbled to have been given an opportunity by the people of Victoria to represent them. Victorians have had enough of the government interfering in their lives, their businesses, their homes. The worst premier in Australia's recent history. What is the Minister doing to investigate the underlying cause of the spike in heart-related issues? Does the government still assert that the mRNA injections are still safe and effective? $170 billion predicted debt. More than Queensland, more than Tasmania, more than New South Wales combined. I'm proud of our country. I'm proud of our flag. I'm proud of our traditions. And most importantly, President, I am proud to be Australian. Which one of these two is the devil? Is it A, Dictator Dan? Is it B, election rigger, Mr. Glenjury? Can the Minister explain or advise what research, if any, is being done to look into the cause of this alarming excess mortality? Now, the scandal is not only about Premier Daniel Andrews, Premier. Now, members of the United Australia Party, we come from all walks of life. Young, old, rich, poor, white, black, brown. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, we're all Australians, we're Aussies. And from whatever land we come, we must speak with one voice to save our country. We should take heart in the fact that the best of our state is in front of us and not behind us. Now, to the members and supporters of the United Australia Party and to the people who voted for us, I want to say thank you. I stand here to represent you, and I'll never stop fighting for you and for our great nation. We will not stop championing what we believe in: fiscal responsibility, traditional Australian family values, individual liberties, a smaller government, less bureaucratic red and green tape, lower taxes, freedom of speech, of thought, of association, and the support of free enterprise. To the people of Victoria, together we will make a difference. Together we will stand up. Together we will create change. Together we will make a better tomorrow. And yes, together we will save Australia. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Aussie! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Senator Babbitt, that's disorderly.
Thank you. Wasn't that interesting? Basically, when I yelled that out, everyone in the back, can you all please move closer? I'd like to see who I'm speaking to. And come on, get in here. Get in closer. I can see you in the front here. Come on, come on. Don't be shy. What is this? There's no social distancing in this room. Not now. Not ever. Not ever. So when I yelled out Aussie, 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 I got told off. The President said, Senator Beck, that's disorderly. I didn't think it was disorderly at all. I thought it was quite fitting for a maiden speech, a first speech in Parliament House, to display my patriotism for the country that I love so much. Something that is sorely lacking in Canberra, in my humble opinion. Sorely lacking. Now, how many of you here know who Sir Edmund Hillary is? Raise your hand. Oh, quite a few. Who was Sir Edmund Hillary? Yell it out. Louder. That's right. He was a New Zealand beekeeper, and he famously went on to become the first man in history to successfully climb to the top of Mount Everest. But he did not accomplish this feat on his first attempt. No, he did not. So after a failed attempt at climbing planet Earth's tallest mountain, Sir Edmund Hillary stood before his supporters and he confidently declared, I will conquer the world's highest mountain. I will. Now his supporters, they were confused. After all, he had just failed. He didn't do it. How, having failed to reach the summit, could he be so confident of eventual success? Well, I'll tell you what he said. He pointed to a picture of Mount Everest on a wall behind him, and he declared, this is what he said. He said, I will conquer the world's highest mountain because Everest cannot get any bigger, but I can. That's what he said. Thank you. That's what he said. Great man. Now, he eventually went on to become the first man to stand atop the Himalayan summit, and he was immortalized in the pages of history. Now, although it's true that the UAP fell short of winning a seat in the Victorian election, and we didn't quite reach the heights that we had hoped for, what is not true is that failing to win a seat is a setback. It is not a setback. Now, we have to keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Labor formed government, but with their lowest primary vote since the 1930s. And the major party vote overall is declining. It's declining, it's not going up. Now that has been our very real impact on the status quo. It has been our very real impact on the two-party system. So that's what our impact has been. Now it is only a matter of time, and things can and will change. And it will happen very, very quickly. Now we only have to look at examples all around the world, such as in Italy, where Giorgia Meloni, the leader of the Conservative Party named the Brothers of Italy, has now formed a coalition government. Now, Prime Minister Meloni only received a few percent of the vote previously. Now, today she's the Prime Minister. Now, in part, on the back of conservative, Italy first family values. Now, it just goes to show that being conservative, it is indeed cool, as Rowan Dean would say, and it will absolutely result in success if we stay the course. But we have to stay the course. Now, unfortunately, I believe that things will get worse before they get better. But I promise you this, things will get better. Now, the recently completed election campaign was an important stepping stone on our journey, not only to electoral success, but to structural change in our great nation. Nothing that is worthwhile in life ever comes easy. Anyone over 30 knows that already. Now, this is a journey, and we need to remember these facts. I'm going to give them to you right now. The Labor Party, founded in 1901. The Liberal Party, founded in 1944. The Greens, founded 1992. The United Australia Party, founded in 2013. Now, in political terms, we've been on the scene for 5 minutes. That's how long, 5 minutes. It's going to take longer than that to effect structural change. Now, the media and everyone else, they'll want to judge us on where we are. But you cannot know where we are unless you first take into account where we have come from. The party didn't even exist 10 years ago. And yet today, though not having won a seat in the Victorian Parliament, we are already a highly influential movement, and that is what we are. We are a movement. A movement. Not so much a party. I'll say it again, a movement. We have the most energetic and engaged group of members, volunteers, and supporters of any Conservative party in our country. We have a brand recognition that other parties could only dream of. Everyone knows that the yellows are UAP. We have people wanting to stand for election under the UAP banner who are first-class candidates, who are passionate, and who strongly believe in the values that we hold dear in our hearts. You saw them before. They're just like you. They're normal, ordinary, hard-working people that live in the suburbs. No one in the UAP that's come up to put their hand up has been a career politician. They've all been ordinary people, and that's very, very important. It's very important. For too long, we have left the political process to professional politicians. That's why we're where we are today. Now, the values that we hold are clear. We will never falter from our values. We will never break them. We will never disregard them for any reason at all, unlike some of the parties which I will not name. Now, government needs to stay out of our lives. They must be just big enough to make our lives easier, but not so big that they rule and they control our lives. The priority of elected members must be to eliminate bureaucratic red and green tape and allow free enterprise to flourish. We must foster competition among private enterprise, and we must discourage monopolies. Competition always favours the end consumer. We must protect our freedoms. Freedom is not just a word. It's not just a word. We believe in freedom. Freedom of speech, of assembly, of religion, bodily autonomy, movement, and association. Family. Family is the bedrock of a democracy and our nation. For decades, society and governments have been actively eroding family values. We believe in putting the family at the forefront of our decision making. Strong families build a strong nation. We must think and we must plan for future generations. They currently only think in 3 or 4 year election cycles. We must protect children and cease the indoctrination constantly being forced into their young minds. Instead, children should be taught how to think, not what they should think. We must protect the rights of all individuals. As the Declaration of Independence so eloquently and simply puts it, our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government should be like a good sports umpire. Present, effective, but not noticed, in the background. They must stay out of the way. We are the masters of our own destiny. They are not. Now, we have not reached the summit, but we are closer than we were before. We are slowly but surely being given an opportunity to influence policy through the media, through you, the members, through our staunch and unwavering values. This was not our time, but as surely as I stand here today and you stand in this room, our time will come. The critics will write us off at their own peril. We are rising, and 2022 is just another step in that gradual but certain ascent. Now, I want to personally congratulate every UAP candidate who stood for election last month. Every single candidate did all of us proud. They argued our principles. They represented our values, which I just listed. They made all of our presence felt. They learned lessons that will make them formidable when the next campaign comes around. And I want to personally thank every one of our volunteers and supporters as well. Your tireless work combined with your unfailing positive attitude reflected well on our party during this campaign. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, nothing changes until you say it has to change. So if we want change, it does not come from me. It definitely doesn't come from Canberra. It comes from you. You got to stand up and say, nah, not on my watch, I've had enough. That's when the change happens. The politicians don't give a damn about you. I was going to say something else. They don't give a damn, right? The only thing they care about is the ballot box. When you start showing them at the ballot box what you think, what you feel, it will change. It will change very, very quickly. Now, the United Australian Party is now well known for its committed, decent, principled and upstanding members, and our reward at this ballot box will come, I can promise you that. Now, there are two things, just two things I want to ask of every person who counts themselves part of this fledgling but great conservative political movement. First, I want to ask that you maintain the faith. Politics is not a sprint, it is a marathon. It's not about one election, it's not about doing the right, it's actually about doing the right things. Election after election after election until the momentum builds, until the momentum becomes unstoppable. That's what it's about. Second, I want to ask that you keep up the fight. The official election campaign is now over, but you and I both know, all of us in this room, know that the campaigning never ends. It never ends. Now you must continue to espouse our conservative values every single chance you have. To your friends, to your colleagues, to your family, to everyone. You see something you don't like, talk about it. Talk to your family, talk to your friends. Nobody knows what's going on unless you tell them, because the media won't, it's up to you. And for those extroverts in the audience, inform strangers if you can. Talk about the issues that we have to people you don't really know that well or don't know at all. Change comes from you, don't forget that. Ultimately, our goal is not simply to win parliamentary seats. Our goal is to influence the whole nation with principles and values that will benefit all the families in our country. That's our goal. So the election has ended. But the need to argue our cause and win hearts and minds, that remains. The next federal election, it's around the corner. It's a couple of years away. But we start campaigning right now. Right now. There's no time to waste. We will ultimately win seats in the Parliament of Victoria, and we will win more seats in federal parliament. But when we win the seats, I'm hoping that every single one of you here today is here again for that massive party. And it's going to be a big one. Now, our climb has just begun, but our ascent is assured, but only if we stay true to who we are. To who we are. Good people, united in the belief that Australia is indeed the greatest nation on earth, no matter what some of those naysayers might say. And you know what, if we have anything to do with it, it will continue to be the greatest nation on earth. Now, in 1952, people mocked the idea that anyone, least of all, a beekeeper from Auckland, New Zealand, would ever stand at the summit of the world's highest mountain. Yet by 1953, the impossible summit had well and truly been conquered. You need to keep the faith. You need to keep up the fight. We are the UAP, all of us, and we will never give up and we will never give in. Now remember, elections come and go, but ideas are forever. God bless our nation and God bless you. Thank you, everybody. concludes the formal part of my speech. One more thing. So I have a real problem with the way that politics is run today. I have a real problem with traditional political parties. What happens is you vote them in, you don't see them again for years until the next election comes around, right? Am I right or wrong? Yeah. I know I'm right. Yeah, right. Now, we need to change that. We need to have better representation in the halls of power, in the halls of parliament, be it Canberra or Victoria or anywhere else. So what I'm proposing for our members, and I will flesh the details out of this in the coming weeks, what we will have is we will have regular members-only meetings. Members-only meetings I believe every quarter or so approximately, where I will bring you into a room. Only for the active members. The ones that aren't active, it's not for you. It's for the active members, the ones who care. I'll bring you into a room. I will tell you what the government legislation program is. What do they have coming up? What are the pros? What are the cons? What amendments can we potentially put up to this legislation that the government's trying to introduce? And together, we will come up with a response that I will take back to Canberra based on what you think I should do, right? So the whole idea is that you need to be more involved in the political process. You need to have a voice. And I will give you that voice because you have voted for me as your elected member to go to Canberra. Our first meeting is going to be in the last week of Feb. Next year, Feb 2023, that's our first meeting. I will reach out to you. I will email you where and when exactly it's going to be. And I invite all of our core dedicated members along, where you will get to have a direct say in exactly what I do when I go back to Canberra. When we have divisions is what we call them when we vote. When we vote, I'll take my guidance from you, our members. Is that good or what? Yeah. So thank you very much for coming. I'm going to do a round up a drink. You're all amazing, and keep the fight. Don't forget, ideas are forever. Cheers.
And that's my kind of party, the United Australia party. Yeah, that's my kind of party, the United Australia party. So sound the starting gun. You know we've just